Hi guys, I'm Janae Broussard, better known on Instagram as Backyard Babe. I actually attended an event today at Vermilionville, and it was in relation to the Healer's Garden, Le Jardin de Traiteurs, I think is how you say it in Cajun French. My mom always fusses that my accent is not proper Cajun French, but we'll get there one day. I'd be lying to you if I told you who the event was held by or who I got this information from. But I will put a link to the book that all this information is from. And I believe there's 2 authors of that book. And if it wasn't one of the authors, then I'll go look back at the event page on Facebook, and I'll rightfully include the lady's name who gave me all this valuable information. But I do believe she said that all this information is available in that book. And the book is called Healing Traditions of South Louisiana, and it was called like Prayers something and Herbs for Healing, something like that. But I'll definitely tag a link if I can't find out how to put a little infographic of it. So anyways, I got there a little bit late, but I think in total it was like a 3-hour long event. So like 25-30 minutes did not make a difference. This video is going to be very unprofessional, very like chilling. I fixed me a little chai tea from R2 Positive. If you're familiar with the Lafayette Farmers and Artisans Market, those are my people. And those are people will also be a great resource if you're just getting started into this. And I'll go over other resources if you're local to the Lafayette, Acadiana region as well. So when I first got in there, they didn't have a slideshow up yet. But there was a speaker at a microphone and everyone was, huddled around, lecture style. And someone asked her how medicinal herbs and tinctures and just like alternative medicine, if you will, homeopathy, how that correlates with Western conventional medicine. So the first thing that we talked about was medicinal plants and drug interactions. And the way she explained it, which was super helpful for me too, because I was always curious about that, because we're, kind of converting to trying to use more natural remedies before we go for like the over-the-counter or, prescription medicines for anything, but we're not there 100%. So, and I don't know if some people ever will, and she explained, sometimes, emergencies occur. I digress. That's why I'm making this video, hopefully to go on YouTube, because it would be way too long-winded for any other platform. So anyways, so she explained that plants have hundreds of compounds, and each of those compounds is what makes a plant medicinal or beneficial to a certain interaction in the human body. And she also explained, which I don't have written down, but that's why you may look up a certain plant. Let me find one, like cleavers, and it might say that it's good for kidney stones, but then it also says it's good for skin issues like psoriasis and eczema. So the reason why you see a plant have so many purposes, or you see like so many plants are good for UTIs or something, it's because the way it interacts with our body and those compounds in it can interact differently, or it has multiple uses because there's hundreds of thousands of compounds inside of plants. Versus conventional medicine, they find that compound that makes that plant or that thing, that compound positively interact with your body, and they put it in one pill or one medicine. And so you have a super high, strong concentration in conventional medicine in one pill, versus in plants, you have such a small amount in your plants, and therefore your plant medicines will never be as strong as conventional medicine. And I would like to add to my own knowledge or opinion on this, it's also why a lot of people say that your medicines, your homeopathy may not cure you super fast, and some things are intended to take as a preventative rather than a after effect fix. We're not reacting, we're being proactive. Hopefully I explained that correctly in the same way that she did. So that was the notes I had on that. One thing that I did jot down, because I personally am dealing with supporting my thyroid. She said that tannins, which I believe are in acorns, the way that they work is that they bind to proteins. So she said something about if you have any kind of herb or tincture, something that is high in tannins, that it doesn't mix well with over-the-counter thyroid medicine, because something about the way that your thyroid medicine interacts with proteins and doesn't get digested properly because the tannins in your herbals are blocking it. So I will throw that out there. Do your research to figure out what the heck I just said, what that means. But I found that interesting and I made a note on it. And a lot of things that I wrote down, when she started rolling through them, she started rolling through them. So some things, I don't even know if I have the plant name written down correctly. So always refer back to the book, do your own research. And yeah, so this is kind of just a guide to get you interested, because like I said, I wrote down tannins, thyroid medicine, because I know that's something that I need to look into. So yeah, that's where I encourage you for that and for the rest of this chat. So I think I kind of went over how herbs work as far as like the compounds in them and how they're not always a one size fits all. And there's not always just like one option, so that's kind of something she touched base on. And she was just explaining how like the nutrients in plants are what makes them beneficial. And so one other way that she kind of broke that down was like an astringent pulls tissues together. So any kind of medicinal that has been researched and found to be an astringent would be also good for something like diarrhea, because it takes that membrane of your intestines and pulls it together, I believe is how she explained it. So that's why some things you might be like, that's weird. Why does it heal cuts, but it's also good for diarrhea? But it's because of the way it interacts with our body, the way she explained it, and the way it manipulates your tissues and stuff. So that's why some things may seem so far-fetched for their uses. So yeah. And then anything that's like a diaphoretic would be good for like chest colds, and also good for fever because of the way that it makes you sweat and detox. But another thing, going back to how herbs and things can interact differently with some people, she said how some things you may find on one source as anti-cancer properties or something, you may find on another source that it's claimed to be cancer causing. And that's just because of the way that it works differently with people's bodies. Like, that herb or whatever is manipulating those cancer cells or those mutations in your cells. So that's why for some people it may help or hinder you. So hit low power mode, we're gonna have to boot up. But anyway, so that's why she said do what feels right for your body, what makes you feel good. And if you start taking some new herbal remedy tincture thing and it doesn't sit well with you, then don't keep taking it. And she's stressed the importance of working with a doctor of conventional medicine too, and to make them aware of what you're using. That way you can work together. And I'll say from personal experience, that's not always easy to find. But even working with someone who's in holistic medicine and practices is a lifesaver. And if you need a resource, I have one, and she's a gem. All right, I'm gonna time out here before we get into different varieties and purposes and all that fun, good stuff, so I can go get a charger. Okay, if you think you've been flipped, it's because you have, because my phone needed to charge. Okay, so now, like I said, she had a slideshow going at this point, and there was a picture of said plant, but there was no name or text, and she was just, she'd say the name of the plant, and then she would start explaining it. So I will say that some of these plant names are questionable. So like I said, get you a good resource. I will link that book, like I said, the Healing Traditions of South Louisiana. But I also got this for Christmas from my mom. So any kind of herbal book would be beautiful. Okay, so I'm actually going to kind of go out of order because I want to explain something to you about different preparation methods. So we talked about it. I'll go through different plants, what parts to use, and how to use them, or how it suggests to use them, also in the book apparently. So tinctures. Tinctures are typically dried or fresh herbs or mushrooms, just like a dried product or a fresh product that has been, I'm not comfortable, soaked or submerged, I don't know the proper terminology, in an alcohol. There is something else, it's not called a tincture, but it's in glycerin, food grade glycerin. And then you can also make tinctures, but I think they all have different names depending on what liquid you use. And the other one uses apple cider vinegar as a liquid. Now, the strongest astringent that's going to pull that those properties out of your plant is going to be a tincture, which is made with alcohol. You can use cheap alcohol. I believe it needs to be like at least 80 proof. Again, do your research. I made tinctures a couple months ago, and I used herbs from my garden, and I use them fresh. I intended to buy some herbs dry and try to make them that way, but I used what I had, and it was brilliant, and I love them. When I say I love them, I mean I love that I have them, and I love their benefits. It's not something that you sip on, you're like, delicious. No, you can either dilute them in water and drink them that way, or you can just stick them under your tongue, hold it for 20 seconds, and then swallow. And I think that's the recommended way to do it, because holding it under your tongue gets into your bloodstream or something faster, better. I don't know. So what I did was I took a mason jar, I labeled it. So these are made, I need to put the year, I guess, in August. And this was clear alcohol. So I had the herb in here. This was sage. And then I submerged it with the alcohol, and you let it sit in the jar for like 2 months, and then you strain the herb out of here. So I just transferred it to a new jar. And then you can either compost your herb or toss it. I don't really know if I would use it at that point. And I feel like you've already strained out all the benefits into your liquid. So anyways, so you strain it out into another jar, or strain out the herb that's been submerged in here. Whenever you're letting it sit, I don't know the proper term again. It should be in a dark place away from sunlight, so not near a window. I just have mine in a cupboard, and try to put it somewhere you're going to access every day, because you're supposed to shake it to make sure that that herb gets mixed in there and nothing's settling. So you can still see a little bit of sediment in the jar. Woo. So anyway, so then I actually bought a kit on Amazon of these little amber dropper bottles, I believe they're called. And it comes with like a little funnel and all the good stuff. So I put the little funnel on the lid, and I just poured whatever would fit in here. And tinctures, another reason why I prefer tinctures with alcohol versus apple cider vinegar or glycerin is because they can last for like years. If prepared and stored properly, they can last, I think, of like upwards of 7 or more years. And the only reason why they would expire is that they would decrease in potency after like year 5 or something. Again, I don't know the science. They would decrease in potency a certain amount through time. I think apple cider vinegar lasts like a year, and glycerin I'm not sure about, but I know that they're less potent than this because they're just not as extracted, and alcohol won't go bad necessarily. So anyways, so you can look up different dosages, but I tend to just do a dropper or 2 of this, again, directly in the mouth or in some other form of liquid. I would refrain from putting them in like teas and stuff, but that could just be me, because I don't know if like the hot water interacts with it or anything, but I don't. I put it in cold water if I mix it with something else. So yeah, so I have basil, again, straight from the garden, thyme, and sage. There are, like I said, ratios and stuff you can find online for how many ounces of herbs to put to how many ounces of liquid. I feel like, I don't know, do what you like and do what you enjoy, but overall I'd rather have something than nothing. And some of these herbs, like the thyme, I didn't really have that much time, so I just kind of collected all that I had and just used it all. And I think what you absolutely need to do is submerge fresh herbs in alcohol. And because when your herbs are fresh, there's water in the leaves and the stem and all that, you need to use more alcohol than if they were dried. I believe that is the correct science behind it. So keep that in mind. Like I said, look it up. I can also share the lady that I used for my tincture advice. I don't remember her name off the top of my head, so I'm gonna have to look her up. Okay, another thing you can do is use teas. So you can just go and collect your herbs or plants fresh, and then use the leaves or the bark directly in hot water, and it'll draw the properties. Now, the reason why you would need to make a tincture over just a tea from hot water, because obviously a tea is going to be 10 times easier. You don't have to soak it, you don't have to wait, you don't have to shake it. Teas are going to be immediate use. It's not as concentrated as a tincture, I'll say that. But some plants, again, I don't know if this is included in the book that I'm referring to, but she said that some plants are not water soluble, so they will not break down that hot water, and that is why we have tinctures and other methods of consuming. Some things are, you can just eat them. They don't need to necessarily be prepared. Other things you can turn into a salve. She kept recommending using honey to make syrups with, local honey, because then that honey is going to give you extra benefits. Yeah, or you can make a salve. I have yet to make my own salve, so I cannot give you any pointers on that. And then another thing that I will note is that, I have some herbs I picked up from Petit Rouge, a place in Grand Coteau. I found this at a antique store. They were just like at the front counter selling them. So if you're local, try to find that. I found it at Brocanti Market. I don't know if I'm saying that right. It's an antique market. So if you're in the area, holla. They have hundreds of them, and they all say their different uses on them. So like this is licorice root, and so these are intended to be tea mixes, I believe. So licorice root right here, it says is good historic uses, because you got to watch your verbiage on these things, are for asthma, expectorant, why can I say expectorant? Why can I say that? Canker sores, gingivitis, fungal infection, ulcers, gout, Lyme disease, shingles, liver protector, I guess tuberculosis, TB, correct me if I'm wrong, yeast infections, fatigue, depression, prostate enlargement, arthritis, PMS. I think I got this one because of the PMS thing. And then also if I ever had a UTI, there's that. Okay, I was just saying that the reason why I got to walk home with some of these plants was because they tend to pop up, and some are perennials. So that's the great thing about some of these medicinals, is that they're native if you're from Louisiana, and some of them are perennials. Okay, I think I found the right thing. This is calling it from Vermilionville wax myrtle, and the book is calling it bayberries, but the scientific name is Myrica cerifera, and that's what's matching. That's how I found it. So it's going to be an evergreen shrub or small tree. It has narrow leaves, blah blah. You use the bark. This has tannins in it, and it's used to increase circulation, stimulate sweating, keep bacterial infections in check, cold, flu, coughs, strengthens your resistance to infection. So this is what I came home with. It makes quite the tree, but it'll send off little babies all around. So this is what the this is what the leaves look like. I'm trying to unfold it. I had it literally in my notebook when I walked away. So this is what the leaves look like. Very skinny circular stem. And yeah, you can look up a picture of what it looks like. So they're really easy apparently to root. It smells really good. Trying to keep it in a little cup. Okay, I'm gonna quickly look up the lizard's tail. I know I took notes on it and I saw it right here. This is called Sarurus cernus. I could be butchering that. Here you go. This is from the little pamphlet. That's what the plant looks like. I also came home with that one, so that's why I'm trying to show you all the plants I got. So this is what the leaf looks like, and this is a variety that you need to watch out for, because they will take over, because they were all over. They said they were easier to manage. They would just go and pull them back and keep them confined to one area in the garden. But just be mindful of that when you're planting new stuff. Do your research on that part too, to see how they spread or don't spread. It says the root can be administered externally for wounds and inflammations of the skin. Teas made from the stems, roots, and leaves can be used to treat stomach ailments and general illnesses. Some use the mashed plant to make a poultice to apply directly to wounds. I'm not sure what the little green quote means. Maybe it's a direct quote from some of the old Traiteurs. But this one says, you put some lizard's tail to soak in water and you make a little baby drink it. That's funny. I think this one might be one too that you can look up and see. Oh yeah, tea made from the plant is given to teething babies. So that's why they say you put the lizard's tail in water and make the little baby drink it, because it's really good for teething purposes. They also bragged on a tree called it's one of the last thing I took notes on. a red bay tree that is awesome for sinuses. She said that she made her husband a tea with like a couple leaves and he was healed after that. There's also another tree called a toothache tree. It's very thorny. The leaves, if you take some or chew them directly, will make your gums numb, she said, or your mouth numb for about 10 to 20 minutes. But if you would chew on the bark, it would make your mouth numb for 2 to 3 hours. So the toothache tree is apparently a miracle worker as well. I also did walk away with some elderberry, but I think I already have it in water outside. And elderberry is another super popular herbal, and that one from the Traiteurs says boil the pith of elderberry and wash your eyes with that. It says a popular plant used in Cajun and Creole medicine. You can use various parts of the plant. Flowers are considered good for reducing fever, chills, headache, and other cold-related symptoms. The flowers are also boiled down into a tea to treat measles. The pith found in the center of the branches is used to make a therapeutic wash for sore eyes. So there's where that comes from. Leaves are most often applied externally to relieve muscle and joint pain as well as wounds and rashes. Leaves are also used to make a poultice to relieve chest congestion and headaches. I believe it was elderberry they were talking about too, and they said that the way that elderberry works is that it prevents viruses from attaching to your cells. And once viruses attach to your cells is where illness sets in. So once it starts, attacking it and attaching to it, so it prevents it from even attaching to it. And the way they're explaining it, it sounded like a miracle worker. So elderberry is a great preventative also, in that sense of just preventing anything from attaching. I think that's the bulk of my notes. They did mention horsetail was also known as scrubbing brush. I think that was the bark that was known as that. They do take over, so watch where you plant them if you find some. They're high in minerals, especially silica, which is good for your hair and nails. And there's some historic records of Indian women using it as like a final rinse on their hair. So if I find horsetail, it would be in my hair routine. Any other notes that I left? Okay, trying to wrap up. So giant ragweed, the horses would literally seek it out when they were close to birthing and pregnant, because she said something in the middle of it would look like little droplets of red blood almost. But whatever's in it is some kind of property that helps produce more blood cells. And it's great for building up the womb. So she said, she implied to be research, but if the horses are seeking out when they're about to give birth, then perhaps we should too. So like I said, all of this information can be found in that book. Evening Primrose is a great one for, it has a great effect on your brain chemistry. I was trying to find the right words. So like dyslexia in children, ADHD, ADD, arthritis, alcoholism recovery, anybody with twitches, she said, depression, fatigue, migraines, and externally for bruises. That was Evening Primrose. She said the seeds are most often used for that, and it's from the pink and yellow varieties. Also good for people going through menopause, PMS. I don't know why I was like, what is that? PCOS, endometriosis, and eczema. So Evening Primrose would be something on my hunt, which I don't think that's a hard one to find. But yeah, so I'll share that book. I'll find the speaker's name. Miss Mary Ann was the one showing me around the actual healer's garden. yeah, I think the book is written by 2 people, perhaps 2 ladies. I don't remember catching the names on there. So I'll share that information so you have it. And this is kind of just an overview of that class. And just know that via the book and going to the actual Vermilionville will give you all this and more some. I also noticed when I was trying to find one of my herbs that this book, the Encyclopedia of Herbal Medicine, somewhere in the back, oh no, I'm trying to find it before I run out of storage again. Somewhere in the back, it was sharing how to make different preparations. So this is infused oils, for example. So if you like hard copy information, which I feel like it doesn't hurt to have a hard copy of any information, I saw this here. I haven't got to look at it, but it looks pictures, text. I love it because sometimes you don't understand from text how things work. So pictures can show you textures and consistencies and stuff. And of course, like I said, there's videos that you can find on YouTube right here. So yeah, so if you enjoyed this video, if you like this style, let me know. If there's anything else you want me to cover, let me know. Like I said, I'm kind of just regurgitating this information from these wonderful, knowledgeable ladies. And I think that's okay because, you know, a lot of people couldn't make it out to this class, and I wanted to share this information with y'all because it is local and very helpful. But like I said, the resource is still out there, so don't feel like you missed out. And hopefully this gave you a little bit more knowledge and insight to what's going on over there. But I would highly recommend it, if not just for enjoying the views and the history, then to learn about some medicinal plants that are accessible and that they're native, so you know they'll grow well here. Thanks for watching. Follow me over on my Instagram and right here, Backyard Babe on Instagram. And yeah, leave some suggestions and let me know what you want to see. I think next I'll try to film kind of a sit down, maybe a little bit more formal version of my beginner laying hen class lecture. That way, that's also available to my local people and accessible to you regardless of how you spend your time. So you can sit and have a little chai cocoa too. Have a great night, friends. Thank you and God bless.